Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world.
Welcome all. Welcome. I was about to do a welcome speech, but I fucked it up. All right, welcome to the. It's been a while since we've been in an actual church. So I forgot how it goes. Welcome one all or something. I messed it up. Anyways, my name is Rudy Wilson. I am a PK. I'm part of the Worst Ones podcast here. Here with the homies, man. We got Kellie Leach, who was on time today. We want to make sure we shout her out.
Woo, woo. That's a huge thing, y'all. Huge thing.
She was on time and she was the first one. Congratulations, Kellie. Congratulations. God is real after all. Of course, we got Terry Wayne in the building. Terry, what's popping?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. Not a thing.
Nope.
And then, of course, Janessa, Rowland.
Hey y'all.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. How's everybody's week been going? Anybody stressed out, still making it? Everybody still good?
Always
Stressed
stressed out.
making it.
Stressed but making it.
Yeah.
Does anybody go ahead?
My birthday's next week, so
Okay.
I'm excited about that.
Turn up. What you about to be doing? 32? 3?
32 flavors of that bootylicious bubble gum, raspberry, grape, cherry. Come and get this honey bun, yummy yum, baby. No, okay, sorry.
Well,
So what day next week?
Fun fact: I was a rapper at Spelman for 1 year.
oh wow.
What is a rapper? What is
A
it?
rapper. My name was OMG, paying homage to 8 Ball and MJG, and my DJ was DJ Kayla, and we had like 2 songs, and then we decided we needed to live a little bit more, and so our first album, maybe it should be called an EP, was called 4.0 because we were super nerdy. And then our follow-up album that still to be determined was supposed to be called MCs with PhDs, but we never quite made it.
She's like, we didn't stick with MCs or PhDs.
So yeah, fun fact, like rapping is in me deep down inside.
Where can we find those tracks now?
I am not telling you. It was so bad.
He
They
just
were
told
so-
you all the names. A simple Google search.
So Janessa, were you the person who had to lead the chant at church that ain't no party like a Holy Ghost?
Holy Ghost party because the Holy Ghost party don't stop. And, yep, that was me.
What Janessa said? Janessa, do the rap.
I was trying to think of the song rap real quick, but I can't remember.
Right.
how that went.
What you say, Terry?
Oh, I was saying that Holy Ghost. That was insulting to rap and religion.
First of all, they still say that. Let's be clear.
Let's get crunk for Christ. No, that's not it.
I thought I was supposed to be the white one.
But it was definitely a black person who said that in the church I grew up in. Very embarrassing. Very embarrassing. Very embarrassing. No, that's what's up. Glad everybody's here. Glad everybody's alive and well. Hopefully you're not looking like what you've been through. Ain't that another church saying? I'm just trying to trying to throw them all out there today. All right, well, cool, man. Shout out to Marcy. We had her on last week. Great guest. We'll have her back soon enough. Super dope conversation. Very, very interesting as well. But this week we have a topic coming from Miss Kellie Lee herself. You proposed this topic for us, Kellie, so I'll let you take it over and introduce us to it.
So, and it kind of piggybacked on our conversation with Marcy last week, because she talked about being a minister's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so wanted to know, ask you guys about how being a PK has impacted your dating relationships. I know we learn a lot about dating and sex and all of those things growing up. So just wondering how it's impacted you. I'll start really briefly because mine, I haven't fully developed my thought yet. You know, for me, I haven't really dated like committed long-term relationships.
Right.
I haven't had many of those at all.
Right.
And it wasn't until recently, I think with this podcast, and then talking with people separately about dating, that I thought that there may be some correlation between the two. But I haven't quite figured it out yet. And so maybe I'll figure it out tonight. Who knows? But whatever insight that you guys can give about how dating and being a PK has worked out for you or not worked out for you, let us know.
And I just have one question for you. I'm not going to go first, but I just have a question to you, Kellie, about this question. Is it our PK experience specifically, or is it just even just growing up in church? Like, go ahead.
Both.
Okay.
Nope. I would definitely. Excellent question. Nope. I would definitely say both.
Okay.
Both.
Well,
Because being a PK, we had to grow up in.
right.
Yeah. So both.
Because I guess I was thinking with mine, I'll give it more thought if somebody else has a answer to go first. But I was thinking, I think mine probably dealt with more just being in church as opposed to directly related to being a preacher's kid. But yeah, if Janessa or Terry wants to go first, y'all can. If not, I can.
Terry, you're the most experienced, so.
By the way, what day is your birthday next week?
Well, it's the 13th, which is technically next Saturday, but you know, you'll get a reminder next Wednesday.
I'm like, so when do we sing you happy birthday? Do we sing you next Wednesday or the Wednesday after?
No, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. So before your birthday. Okay. Got it. After your birthday, then it's after your birthday. So
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Birthday party next week, y'all. Pull up.
I'm turning 40 on the 17th too.
Oh, hey, we lit next week, man. Everybody pray, hey, drinking and smoking only next week. Okay? Everybody burn.
So a normal week for me.
Right.
What day is the 17th on?
It's a Tuesday.
A Tuesday. So we'll hit you the day after. Okay. Parties next 2 weeks, y'all.
Hey.
Actually, the 18th is the one day I can't be on the podcast because I have a show that night.
So how do we celebrate you?
We'll just do it. We'll do it early.
I mean, I can try. Look, I can try and log in from my phone on the way down or something like that.
That's it, because I can't share. Next week is all about my birthday.
Gotcha. Not what I want to try and make you.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to pop on in on the 18th.
Right.
Well, and to answer your question, I mean, it didn't really affect me that much because once I got to a certain age, I just kind of, I didn't even have a church at that point. Once I get into my 20s, because my dad became more of an evangelist, so he was more traveling,
Right.
To go places and preach and things like that. So he didn't have a place. I did some stuff when I was, my late teens, early 20s, but once I started actually getting out in the world, it was, it didn't really have. I mean, yeah, there's some things that still affect relationships because, like, I'd have certain obligations or things like that, but it never really affected mine too much because I just decided, once I got out on my own, I just decided, I'm gonna make my own decisions, be my own person. I'm not gonna worry about it,
Can I ask you this, Terry? Did it affect you, I guess, in the reverse, in the sense of, were you adamant about not, I guess, just say practicing what you were kind of taught in church, like implementing it into that relationship because you may have felt it was wrong or bullshit or anything? Like, did it work in that way?
Oh, no, it wasn't like that. It was, I think I just had my fill at that point, and I always kind of thought of spirituality as being different from religion. You know, religion is just a group of like-minded people together for one reason or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I always separated the spirituality from it anyway. I mean, no, I was just trying to make a life, you know. So it kind of took a back seat at that point.
Did you date church girls, or did you?
Yeah, no, I don't have like a prejudice or anything.
Mm.
It's just, you know, I mean, I dated girls in the church when I was a teenager. I had my first kiss in the
That's
Sunday
sweet.
school.
No, I'm saying, I'm saying like even now, I'm saying like, do you like, would you date a church girl, or would you?
Oh yeah. I was in a relationship with the last heavily religious relationship I was in, where religion played a real role, was I was with an older woman for about 3 years. I say older, I mean like 9 years older. She wasn't like 70 or anything.
Right.
that was my next question. Like,
No, I was 23. She was 32. Well, she had 2 daughters, so you know, and she was really involved in her church, but it was a mega church. You know, it was like
Gotcha.
her church was in the it was in a super Target that they had bought the building
Wow.
into a church. Yeah,
That's a big ass church.
it is, and there's a lot of those down here. It was not Calvary Chapel. It was I can't remember the name of it. But it's not only a mega church, but there's multiple branches.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, so yeah, I mean, it doesn't really even matter at that point. Once it gets so big, you're just getting lost in the minutia anyway.
Right. Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I mean, don't hate it, don't look for it. I just kind of take what life brings me. You know. So,
No, I got you.
Yeah.
Janessa, you want to go, or?
I'll go. Being a PK definitely affected my dating life. So first of all, I've told y'all before, my parents are super traditional, super old school. And like when I say super, I mean me and Jessica did not have cell phones until our freshman year of college. And I mean like first day of freshman year, and this like, here's your cell phone. So
how bad was high school with that?
Yeah, so high school, we didn't have cell phones, and boys couldn't call the house. And we kind of had like a sister code, because you know, this is back in the day where say you're on the phone downstairs and you can pick up the phone upstairs and listen to what the person has to say. So you know, like we kind of had a code where we would cover for each other. So like if our parents was coming home and somebody's on the phone, we would like distract them, you know, till the person can get off the phone or whatever. Or we would sneak to call boys. I remember my spot at school, there was a telephone in the gym, and I would go up there and talk to boys. And then one of my best friends, Tabitha, Kellie, you know Tabitha, she had a Metro PCS with like unlimited minutes, texts, whatever, and I would use her phone to talk to people. So it was, of course, also like going on a date. I remember I went on a date with this guy, and there were 5 Black girls in my class, because I went to a majority white private school. All 5 girls had to go to the movies for me to go out, because my parents were like super strict. So they went out so that I could sit in the back with the guy. They
was like, one of these girls may try something, but the other 4, somebody gonna step up.
And I appreciate all the girls, because they held me down, and everybody just knew my parents were the way they were. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, Janessa wants to go on another date and we all got to go with her. They weren't team players. They went, you know, they let me sit in the back. I think we went to go see Roll Bounce, you know, with Bow Wow. This is back in the day. So I feel like, teenage trying to date. I don't really consider it dating now that I'm older because it was silly. It was silly. My parents were not supportive of me dating anybody. They felt like I needed to focus on school, and that's it. And I think that to a certain extent kind of hurt me a little bit because they didn't really talk to me about guys and dating in general. So when I got to college, I was just like, ooh, boys, people want to talk to me and parties and definitely got my heart broken because I missed out on all like my guy friends, later in life told me like, oh, they were telling you sweet nothings. And I was like, what is a sweet nothing? What? And then they explained it to me and I was like, I got that like from day one. And they're like, yeah, you've been played the whole time. And I'm just like, mind blown type of situation. So yeah, high school was sucky. College, I feel like you know how the Bible and our parents tell us about not being with someone who's unequally yoked or whatever. So my definition was like, do you go to church? If you just said yes, that was good enough.
Right.
Now that's not good enough. But like back at that time, if you could just check that box, then we could keep it pushing. But
you might want to watch the phrasing. I said you might want to watch the phrasing on that.
What? But
no, keep it pushing.
Okay. Keep
really?
pushing.
I'm the only one that thought of that. All right.
Yeah.
I understand these two, but where are you at, Rudy?
I didn't catch it, but yeah, I got you. Now that you said it makes sense, but yeah, I didn't catch it at first.
Yeah. But yeah, when I got to college, I wasn't concerned. Like, there's this. Okay, so this happens now, but now it doesn't really bother me. Like when people find out I'm a PK, it's literally like an automatic. Oh, she's the worst one, or oh, you're a freak, or oh, you're shelter, or oh, you're all the things we've talked about on this podcast. And so there was a level where I was like, I gotta prove these folks that I'm, that I am or I'm not this or that. And ultimately over time, I feel like I became someone who wasn't me. Like I was so busy trying to live up to these different standards that other people put on literally the role of a PK.
Right.
That I really did lose myself during that college time. I mean, but who doesn't like go through stuff in college? Like,
sure.
So then you fast forward like post college, like 25, 26 or whatever. Where I now know a little bit better. I've had my fair share of pastors or ministers try to shoot they shot.
Tell us more.
Huh?
Tell us more.
Yeah.
What church they go to? No.
I'll tell you later because it's churches we know. We all know. But no, so that was just like, I don't know. It kind of threw me for a loop because I knew this, but it had not happened to me. So some preachers and ministers are holier than thou in the pulpit, but they are not.
They hoeing more than thou.
outside the church. And it was
I love that.
The text messages I was receiving and the pics that I was just like, but
I thought you were somebody's minister.
It would be like I would get texts and then they would post to the church website like revival at 6:00. Come join me. And it's just like, yeah, I've had ministers who were supposedly in relationships with somebody else try to talk to me.
Wow.
And it's like under the umbrella that These are local people in Atlanta, but it's under the umbrella. Sorry, that people are saying like, "Oh, you're Pastor Rowland's daughter," and I think that if we're together, that like we would be this power couple. You would join churches and have affiliation with your father's church and my church, whether you're trying to like build your church or you're trying to attach to established or well-known ministry. Like some people have come at me like that on a business type of relationship.
That sounds like England, where like you give your daughter to a prince so that you can join his kingdom.
Right.
Yeah. It's literally on that type of level. And my sister can give you stories too of ministers trying to do the same thing. So that, I guess it just threw me for a loop because I was like, surely nobody would try me with that BS. And then surely that's something you see on Greenleaf, not in real life, but
I think you're underestimating men. That's what I think.
No, that's facts. But I was also going to ask when they were shooting their shot and sending pictures, were any of them ever, I guess, like respectable, or was all of it like disrespect? And because I guess the point I'm getting at, I'm not saying this is what happened to you or you were even saying this, but I do think that some people, like if you are just say a minister or whatever, and somebody's seeing you like trying to like just say court a woman, you may get looked at funny, like, oh, well, he trying to sleep with her or whatever. But realistically, like the only way you can ever get married is you have to date. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's why I'm asking, like, with you, did anybody ever come correct, or was everybody just like on some, slot stuff?
I would say it started off correct. Like the first introduction would be like, oh, hello, my name is Pastor Minister such and such. I saw you from across the room. I thought you were gorgeous. I would like to get to talk to you. That type of like
that all men give.
Yeah, that's a real, oh yeah, you're sweetheart, beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Like all of that. And then it's like, oh, okay, you talk to them and then the conversation just kind of goes left and it's just like.
Yeah, it eventually always goes left.
Yeah, because for a minute I was like, what am I projecting to attract this? But it's not necessarily like I'm projecting, I'm wearing like, a go get 'em shorts and a halter top. I mean, especially at the church. But sometimes I think it's just what the guy is. I don't know.
What's on their mind? I got one last question. Did any of those ministers or pastors, did they ever try to talk, like any of the same one try to talk to you and Jessica, you and your sister?
Not that I know of, but who knows? Who knows? But not that I know of. Not that I know of. Gotcha. I would just say, so moving past them, I would say the guy I'm with now, who just, y'all probably saw him walk by, he's bringing food. He's great. He's involved in the church, but he's not like minister in training or, pastor in like, he's not like that. He's just a regular church goer. He wasn't intimidated by my role. Now he hasn't been to our church because of the pandemic, obviously. And it doesn't bother him. Like he understands, we share a lot of the same morals and values. And so like my position or my title or what my parents do, even what I do in the church, like none of that really phases him, which I think is part of the reason we work. Because if it was, like if he did feel some type of way, because church is such a big part of my life, like it really, like it would cause problems long term. You know what I'm saying? Like it might work out for like, the beginning and the honeymoon phase and everything like that. But over time, it wouldn't work for me. So I've had a variety of, experiences. But yeah.
See, and I think because my father became senior pastor so late in my life. Like I haven't had those experiences where other ministers have tried to like talk to me to join kingdoms or I haven't had that experience, but I've definitely had the experience when you talk about it intimidating men and them not wanting to, I guess, live up to the standard of what they feel like a preacher's kid's boyfriend or whatever should be. And really because of maybe their own spiritual relationship. That I've definitely had that. Like I definitely feel like my dating pool has lessened because I'm a PK because they're like, oh, your dad's a preacher. Oh no, I'm good.
Right.
Probably I'm good too.
Right.
I'm good.
Right.
But definitely, I definitely think that I've seen the pressure on men once I say that. And they're like, especially like in my early 20s, they're like, nope, no problem, no worries, we're good.
Right. Kellie, do you think it may have something to do with that whole like just say England mindset in the sense of like, because if you were a princess, just saying, and we got married, like I would then have to be king, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So do you feel like those men may have shied away from that because they may have felt like I can't be a pastor, you know what I'm saying? I gotta live up to that, or do you think they just was like, oh nah, she a little church girl, so this finna be whatever?
You know, and this is getting off PK. This is just my constant struggle in life. First of all, you've known me for a very long time. I've been Princess Kellie for
sure.
For all my life.
Right.
For all my life. But I have gotten a lot of I cannot live up to what they feel like that requires.
Gotcha.
For sure. Because though I'm a little church girl, I think I have a good balance. And so I wasn't that girl who, oh, let me throw the Bible at you, let me, throw scriptures at you. Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored every time you call, or let's pray in our conversations and pray out. Like I'm not, every time you call, we got to pray in and pray out. Like I'm not her. But I definitely feel like, yes, that I have gotten, I don't want to live up to that, especially when it gets to something serious, when we go beyond, playing, dating, whatever.
Right.
I've definitely gotten that for sure.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Gotcha. I guess for me, I don't have a specific, I guess, PK effect as far as dating life. And it could be because I mean, like I've said before, my dad has never been, just say the pastor of a, or just say in a position as a pastor where I was under like high scrutiny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think if anybody ever like scrutinized me, it just was me directly. Like, oh, you was in church. Oh, you supposed to be the next preacher or pastor or whatever. Like, what are you doing? Like, I've dealt with like that, but I've never dealt with like, because of who your daddy is, whatever type of thing. As far as like, I mean, dating, I mean, even as far as like just growing up in church, I don't know, because I'm not gonna say I'm like a rebel, because I wasn't just out there just like, yo, I don't care what they teach us, I'm doing the opposite. But at the same time, I don't think I ever like dated with being conscious of like, what would people at church think type of thing. You know what I'm saying? And then I've also like, I don't know, I've moved around, so I don't know. This is kind of a hard question for me, Kellie, because like I think I've just had more experience when it comes down to dating, just like dating women or girls or whatever, getting cheated on or heartbroken or arguing or whatever the case may be, and then I just kind of just learned from that to go to the next relationship. But I don't know if I had like a direct effect because I was in church or because I was, a PK. I mean, even when I was like, like before I was doing comedy and like I was preaching and stuff, I mean, I know that definitely didn't stop women from wanting to sleep with me. You know what I'm saying? Like I can say that much. Like that didn't, that was no type of deterrent. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that becoming just say a minister or a preacher or whatever like that. I don't think it helps your case in the sense of like trying to be abstinent or whatever like that. Because honestly, it probably gets thrown at you at a little higher rate, just with some more, incognito thrown in there. So for me, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've just always just kind of had free reign to just kind of do what I want. Like as far as with my parents have never like tried to run my life, but my mom has definitely, made things like age appropriate. You know what I'm saying? Like we wasn't finna like have people come to our room and close the door. You know what I'm saying? Even being grown, like, like if you ain't married, you ain't finna go to my mama's house and sleep in the same bed with your girlfriend because it's Thanksgiving break and none of that. Like y'all sleeping in 2 separate rooms. You know what I'm saying? And when before my mom got remarried, she did the same thing. We'd go out of town, like we'd go to Chicago to my auntie house, and she would be in one room, and her now husband, would be in another room. So
your mama was grown.
Oh yeah, right. We was grown when this was happening, let alone her. So so that's just how she is. You know what I'm saying? So I've definitely dealt with like that. And then even to Janessa's point earlier about like the 5 chicks all going on a date with you or whatever. I've a girl that I dated at New Beginning when I was young. We dated. We went to the same church and seen each other on Sundays. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how much you call it dating or whatever. But we had a thing where we used to always go to the movies after church. We either go to like North DeKalb or Stonecrest or whatever. And I don't know if it was 5 girls, but her parents definitely would not let us to just go. It would always have to be one of the homegirls or some other kids from the church or whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? So of course, once you get there, you try to, sneak off and kiss or whatever the case may be. And I never like smashed at the movies in this time period. But
in this time period. Be clear in this time period.
But you know what I'm saying? But I think it was just more or less that for me in the sense of, the basic stuff. Like, even when my mom had the sex talk with me, if you will, she had it with me like after I had already had sex. You know what I'm saying? So nothing was way too strict, but I definitely got the basic fundamentals. Like, you need to wait till you get married, but if you can't wait, use a condom. Like I said, if you bring a girl to the house, even as an adult, like y'all not sleeping in the same room. What as far as like we stay in a day house, now if you go buy your own hotel room, you can do what you want to do. But I'm saying at the house, it's gonna be separate. And I guess my last comment I'll make, even going back to the whole something Janessa said about being like equally yoked. I think I'm still trying to even like discover exactly what that means, even when it comes down to dating, because I always thought that dealt with just like if you went to church or not, or if you saved or not, or whatever the case may be. But even hearing a little bit of Marsha's story and even hearing your story now, Janessa, like obviously people who go into church who have an anointing or whatever like that also were unequally yoked, you know what I'm saying, with you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious. I don't have the answer for it, but I am curious to know like exactly what that looks like.
I totally forgot to address Kellie's question before we started, which was you said you wanted to hear about my marriage, right?
Right.
Yes.
I was married. I was with a woman for 7 years, a German woman. She lives back in Germany now. We got divorced. But she was Catholic. That's the thing. Like a lot of Germans, she was Catholic because that's a big religion there. So that was a different experience for me because we got married 3 times. We got married at a courthouse. Then we had a small ceremony here in South Florida for my family. And then we had the actual big ceremony, which was in Germany at this church, this Catholic church that was older than this country is. Wow. It was like 360 years old. But they were very big on like on the traditions and the dogma and we got to say certain words and do certain things and this and that. I had to meet with a priest beforehand. He had to give the thumbs up and you know, so that was a little different, you know, of an experience. I would say that probably came into play more than anything. But at that point, it was just like, okay, you know, I'll go along with this. You know, let's.
Right.
Did you live there, or did y'all move here, or?
No, I met her when she was here going to school. She was going to school, and she went to school in Palm Beach, and then she went to school in Boston, and then came back down here, and that's when I met her.
But y'all lived here.
Yeah, we lived
Okay.
here. We lived in Memphis for about 3.5 years. But no, we would go there a lot. We would, like, I stayed there for a summer once, just because, you know, she wanted to see her parents, or we go there for Christmas or something sometimes, that kind of thing. But just from the religious point of view, like, I mean, my dad flew over for the wedding, you know, and he was there, and you know, he helped me kind of navigate the whole thing, because he studies, you know, he studies theology on all levels, you know. So, I mean, he went to school for theology, and he learned about other religions, and he's like, oh, you know, you just have to do this and that. And
Right.
help me navigate it a little bit.
So I have a question for you, Terry, and then for Rudy and Janessa as well. And it may take longer. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But the idea of submission. So I know biblically, like I know in wedding vows, you always see funny videos when, like, well, I've seen it where the pastor who's doing the service says, and to like obey, you know, and the and the bride is like, to do what now?
That's what the Bible says. The Bible says a wife should follow her husband, yes, but it also says that a husband should cherish his wife.
Right.
And when they talk about it, when you really get into it, and they talk about it biblically, they even say in the Bible that a husband and a wife should cherish each other even more than their children. You know, which makes sense for the time that they wrote it, because who knows how many of them kids are going to survive anyway. You know, so but if you lose your husband, you can't make any more kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that makes sense. Just
You
with
had to throw a dark joke in there.
I'm just saying. Time,
And it throws me off every time.
People that used to have 10 kids because the woman loved having 10 kids. They had 10 so they could raise 4. You know,
Right.
they were going to get cholera or rickets or something. You know,
Right. So Kellie, what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's what happens when you shit in a pot under your bed. Like that's like it was dirtier times back then.
All right.
Just, more dangerous.
I guess Kellie. So I guess I got a question about your question. What is the specific question about submission specifically?
Just your thoughts on submission.
Gotcha. I did when I was probably maybe like 23 or something like that. I remember this topic coming up in like a Bible study or whatever it was, Sunday school. And I remember then, because I didn't know, and I thought like I was under the impression. I remember answering and being basically chastised, if you will, for answering something to the degree of like submission basically means like, you know, a woman basically, you know, listens to her man type thing, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I was quickly corrected and was told that submission kind of, you know, dealt with more of being in agreement, as opposed to just say being under control. Because like you can work for or you just say you play for a sports team, you know what I'm saying, and you could submit yourself to the coach and to that game plan for the sake of the team winning, you know what I'm saying, according to that game plan. But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're doing what the coach told you to do to execute the game plan, that doesn't mean like you're the coach's slave. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean you're the coach's do boy or whatever like that. And so for me, I was under the impression that that's what submission meant at first, until I realized that it's kind of more or less, I guess, like in the whole agreement thing. And so even when it comes down to marriage, and it seems like marriage and relationships and everything is just kind of, evolving into its own, thing. Like a lot of people are against marriage for different reasons, whatever. I'm definitely with it. I definitely want to be married. But I can say I don't know the full definition of submission or what all the vows say, but I can definitely tell you I don't want a wife that's like I guess like dependent on me. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want somebody who's like don't have their own mind and I have to basically make every decision, even if it's just as simple as what we're gonna eat. You know what I'm saying? Like I like for people in general, let alone somebody who I'm with, to be able to be like nah. You know what I'm saying? like I say something, you just be like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Because not because you're trying to be rebellious or against me, but like that's just not you. And I'm good with that, as opposed to somebody who's just like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, whatever you, and then you look later down the line and this person is dealing with whatever because they never got to live their life, or they never got to express themselves, or they never got to speak up. And so it it just becomes a problem later on. So for me, I would much rather, I'm gonna say I want a woman with like, who like dominating me per se, but at the same time, just somebody who can just, I guess stand in the paint on their own, for lack of a better term.
Well, the submission thing, first of all, that's a terrible word. You shouldn't have to ask your wife. You shouldn't have to ask your wife to submit to you. I mean, there are parts of me that still believe in some traditional values. So like, yeah, if you're gonna be the leader, if you're gonna be the head of a household, then you should be the kind of leader that people want to follow. And if you're doing that, you're not gonna have to worry about it. If you're being a good leader and she's equally yoked, as you say, she's gonna naturally want to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you start messing up, that's when she goes, well, I'll take the reins. And that's when you start feeling emasculated. She starts feeling like you're not taking care of her. That's when shit goes crazy.
Right.
It's when women stop appreciating or men stop trying. That's when relationships go wrong.
So my understanding, and it's evolved over time as well, because kind of like Rudy, when I first heard submission, like as a teenager, I thought it was like I had to do whatever my husband says.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, hell no. It's not going to work. I'm not going to be married. My mom's not going to have no grandkids for me because this isn't going to work. But, as I got older, and like you, Rudy, I Bible study series and sermon series, and just kind of studying more about it. The way I view submission now is more so, it's not a negative thing. Like, it's more so, you submit to like your husband's decisions as he takes in consideration your needs as well.
Right.
So it's not like I'm gonna decide all the decisions. So like say, he gets a job, his dream job in Alaska, and he wants to go, like he's telling me all these things he wants to do. But then I'm over here saying, but hey, there's no job for me. Like, there's no opportunities for growth for me. We don't have support for the kids with our families here. We have my mom can take care of the kids. In Alaska, we wouldn't have that, and then it would be up to, he will make the final decision, taking in consideration, my concerns. And a true leading husband, would be able to deny what he wants to do if that's what's best for the family. Like,
right.
At the end of the day, you're making decisions that's best for the family, not what's best for you or what you want, or it's not a me, I dominate type of situation. And I think when you are in a relationship with somebody who you can trust to make those decisions, the best decisions for the both of you, it's easier to submit. It's easier to go under or follow his his leadership because you know he is, you know, considering and taking
Right.
your
You're
needs,
saying
your.
be a good leader. That's what you're saying. You're saying
You
be a
said
good
what?
leader. I said so. You're saying be a good leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a leader that you can trust and know that he's making decisions that's best for the two of y'all or your family, with your kids,
Right.
whatever.
I think it's important for women to understand that though, Janessa, because I think that they can miss that opportunity if they come into the situation, just say with his plan in mind. Because like in order for him to consider yours, you have to speak up and let that be known. You know what I'm saying? Especially for somebody like me, like I'm a very like matter of fact person. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, I can't always assume what it is that you will want. You know what I'm saying? And if you never say it, I'll keep moving, assuming that there's nothing that you want. You know what I'm saying? Because you never speak up, and a lot of women don't speak, and they just kind of like, well, I mean, he said Alaska, so let's do it. I'll figure it out there, as opposed to saying like, no, Alaska don't work for me because of X, Y, B, Z. You know what I'm saying? And then y'all have to make a decision. Okay, are we gonna do something long term or whatever the case may be? But that wife, just say role, also takes a bit of leadership, because even if you're whatever you want to call it, the vice president, the assistant coach, the second in, whatever it's supposed to be, or whatever. I think that a lot of times women take that second seat as opposed to, you know, like a king and a queen, like they sit equally, even if the king is the spokesperson. You know what I'm saying? They're still sitting on equal levels, and I think that a lot of women take the back seat, especially if they're not in a position of, you know, just say bringing home the bacon, if they're a housewife, whatever like that. Like you get minimized more and more, and then you never get to be considered in decision makings because you don't even know that you're supposed to be, let alone you don't speak up and say it.
You guys are killing me with this, especially. It's especially. Why?
Well, I'm from the South, okay, so I don't even say jewelry. I say jewelry.
I'm from the buckle of the Bible Belt, and I don't say especially.
But finna is not a real word, but I say it, okay?
It's like when I hear somebody say espresso. There ain't no X in that either.
Kelly, I also wanted to say something else just in terms of all what we're talking about. Rudy, I think you mentioned something that's really important too, that I stress to my single friends. Like, it's very important when you're in your singleness to figure out who you are, figure out what you want to do, figure out what your desires are, figure out what your life goals are. Because when you do, I think, and it kind of goes with the unequally yoked or equally yoked situation. I think, you know, that topic alone probably has multiple levels to it. But okay, say I want to, you know, do I want to install wells in third world countries, and I want to spend, you know, 10 months out the year helping people. But then the person who I'm interested in dating wants to be a congressman.
Right.
Like, what does that relationship look like if I'm over in Africa and you're in DC for 10 months out of the year?
Right.
Not saying that you can't make it work, but those type of conversations need to be had, and things you need to think about when you're you know, when you're dating and courting and figuring out what you want, because it's gonna, like, I just feel like it's something down the line is gonna come up that's gonna make, you know,
well,
decision making and stuff difficult. Or like Rudy was saying, you just go with the flow because you don't even know what you really want to do. It's just like, well, I'll just go and then I'll figure it out. And then, you know, over time you might develop resentment because you figure out, you know what, actually, I really wanted to do Teach for America in Louisiana. That's what I really wanted to do. But now I'm stuck in Alaska, where the sun don't shine for 12 hours.
Well, that's why nobody should get married before they're like 28 to 30. Nobody should get married before that. You don't even know who you are. You don't know what you want. You know, you're still figuring yourself out. You can't then try to figure somebody else out. You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Take your time. It's fine. You're not going to run out of time. You're not going to, you know, miss the boat.
I think a lot of people don't be wanting to miss that clock. They be thinking about kids and the white picket fence, and they, you know, they be thinking about what that life look like. And honestly, like 40 is like the marker. Like the closer anybody gets to 40, you feel like once you hit 40, life is over. Whatever you didn't do, you know what I'm saying? Like you you missed it if you reached 40 and didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So
Terry, you got 1 week, bro. You got 1 week.
you got 1 week, bro. You done.
Get it together.
2 weeks, first of all. Actually,
Terry.
I have a 28-year-old girlfriend that I'm with that we're talking about having kids. So
Ooh.
Let them know.
maybe.
You got 2 weeks to get it done, man.
David Letterman didn't have his first kid till he was like 55 years old. So
Well, men, y'all can have babies when
Right.
you're 90.
Men can do that. Right.
yeah, we could be 80. It doesn't matter.
Right.
If
Right.
Right.
you boys are swimming, you're good to go. So,
Yeah.
but I get it from women's point of view because once you hit your mid-30s, it gets a lot tougher at that point.
Mhm.
It does, but I would say me and my friends, and I'm glad we're starting to have these conversations more, talk about IVF and freezing eggs.
Mhm.
I've had several friends and family members who have gone, and now it's stupid expensive,
Mhm.
but have gone through the process because it seems like our generation is getting married and having kids later and later and later.
Right.
And exactly what you were saying, like I was that person who was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning 25. Oh my gosh, I'm turning 30. Like, oh my gosh, next week I'll be 32, you know, but I think, you know, I also feel confident that there are other options. So maybe that conversation needs to be had more so people don't feel so rushed to like get it done before they're prepared for like actual marriage and to actually be a parent.
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Like, something as little as 300 years ago, you'd be considered elderly. So, yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Terry.
There wasn't a whole lot of 60-year-olds running around years ago.
Thank you, Terry. Well, I hope y'all were listening tonight.
You said it's crazy expensive, right?
Yeah,
to do
it is.
in vitro. It is, but what is your life worth? You know, that's the same question I had to ask myself when I left my wife, because I left like $20 million when I left my wife. But I just kept thinking, like, what is my life worth? What's my existence?
You said 20 million?
Yeah.
He did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand those numbers.
From a wealthy family, but again, what's your life worth? You know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's real. Like I said, I was gonna say, they're dropping gems tonight, y'all. I hope y'all listening. I hope y'all listening. They dropping gems tonight.
After I've been through my all these sweet nothings, though.
Life experiences, gems. Gems.
I mean, so what would we say? What's the moral of the story here? What's the takeaway? Did we learn? Did we teach anything? Are we still at the same place?
I'm not. Now I can't give you one specific takeaway.
Gotcha. What'd you say, Terry?
I said I think there's lessons here.
I think a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Men, be a leader that women want to follow. And then you won't have any issues with, you know, the submission, the obeying, those type of things because she'll want to, because you're a leader that she just naturally wants to follow.
Right.
I think that was something that I've heard from all of you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say this is my closing remark, just as far as relationships in general. Granted, I'm no relationship guru. I haven't been in any relationship longer than probably a year and some change or whatever. I haven't been in many relationships at all. Maybe 3, like tops, as far as like an actual we're in a relationship type of thing. But I will say that I think where a lot of people go wrong, believe it or not, is that people don't really understand like what love means. And what I mean by that is like, especially if you're trying to go on like a biblical aspect, like we'll say that like love is unconditional, right? But then we'll enter into a relationship with every condition in the world of what we want this person to be like, from the looks to their attitude, to their way of thinking, to the job that they have, the way they dress, the sense of style, If we're vegan, we want them to be vegan, whatever the case may be. You know, we kind of come in with that, and I feel like that right there is a terrible starting point. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to already be disappointed because nobody is going to ever match up to your exact superhero that you've created in your head. You know what I'm saying? So if you are going to use the word love and love somebody unconditionally, then you need to find out who they are and find out if you can love that or not. You know what I'm saying? Even if they never change. Now, there's room for growth and change, but even if they did, if they stayed that exact same person, could you really to death do you part this, or should you just go ahead and see this as a red flag from the jump and just save yourself some headache?
It's because we're all so self-important right now. In this generation and probably the last two, we're all very self-important. You know, people used to get married without ever having met. They still do that in some countries.
Right.
You know? But now it's, I've got to find my soulmate and this, and they got to be perfect. And, you know, that's the only way I'll be happy. You know, I'm not saying you should just go out and be with anybody, but maybe lower your standards a little bit. Because considering it wasn't but maybe 4 generations ago that your daughter would just go to the person who had the biggest farm, you know, and it was kind of like you were saying, joining kingdoms. Yeah, it was more of a calculation than a feeling. It was like, how can we come out of this better? And that happened a lot. It happened all over the world, including here. But you know, go out, try to find the best person you can that makes you happy, and then don't stop trying. And that means the man, the woman, the husband, the wife, just don't stop trying, because that's when everything starts to go down. Because everybody knows a guy will try his hardest, you know, but once you reach a certain point, he just slacks off and shows you who he really is. Just show him who you really are right off the bat, you know, and then you can maintain that. If you put the expectation way up here, you can't maintain that forever. So start here and just keep it going. Keep that plateau going. Because if she likes you down here, that's manageable. But if you make her expectations way up here, and 2 years from now she's like, he's not the same man he used to be. Yeah, he is. He was just trying a lot harder.
Right.
You know.
And that's real. As we're closing out, I mean, I even think about that, like with looks. I mean, granted, I get it. Nobody's going to just step out the house looking half-ass or whatever. But at the same time, I do feel like if for whatever reason, if you can run across somebody at Walmart or whatever, and you can like them for, you know, them being in their house shoes and you know, in sweatpants or whatever like that. Like if you can like somebody at their worst, then when they're at their best, they're gonna be the shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the to your point, Terry. We go in with the high point. Like, what's your peak? That's what I want to fall in love with. And then once you show me anything less than that, which is a real thing that's going to exist, now I'm disappointed. As opposed to let me just go ahead and love you in the valley. That way, if we ever even make it to the peak, that's just a cherry on top.
And don't even worry about looks. That gets, I mean, Rudy, you've probably heard this saying. I've heard it all my life from other guys. You know, you can take the hottest woman on earth, right? You can take the hottest woman on earth, and there's some dude who's sick of her shit. You know, like,
or there's some woman who looks better.
Look at Beyonce. Beyonce got cheated on. So you know what I mean? Like, looks are nothing. Looks are the door knocker to a relationship. They just get you through the gate, and then after that, you got to find something real.
It's part of the chase. You know, a lot of times, and I swear this is my last thing, but I just keep thinking of stuff as we keep talking. But it's part of the chase, because if you think about it, like the reason why a man can get sick of a woman or over a woman after he, you know, hits or whatever is because the fantasy or the imagination is no longer there. Like when you look at a woman who's with a man, you be like, dang, how he cheat on her? You know what I'm saying? Well, he's already like she is no longer in his mind how she is in your mind, because he's already had it. He's already seen her naked. He's already had sex with her. He's already, you know, even especially if they're in a relationship, he's already seen her. He probably even at her worst. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when you dealing with somebody, you got to see them, you know, their hair messed up after they fart, take a dump, anything. You know what I'm saying? So once you no longer have that perfect image in your mind, it's easy to shit on somebody because that value is no longer there. And that's because all, like you say, going in with looks on your mind, you're going to look at, okay, boom, she got hair, makeup, blah, 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 blah. And then once I get past that, it's just like, nah, this ain't even as whatever it was, prior to me getting. So that's why it's also good for women to, to try to hold on as long as possible. Because, unless you just want the chase to be over. But once that chase is over with, it's hard to get a man back on the prowl for you.
Once you get a real relationship, I'd say after the second year, like the chase. What chase? There is no chase.
Right.
After the second year. But a woman shouldn't let herself go just because it's so ingrained in them and their pride and self-respect. I mean, every woman I've been with cares about her looks more than I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's so ingrained in women that that's where their value is, and that has to evolve too, just like everything else evolved. We don't have litters of 10 kids anymore because things got better, but you got to evolve in your own head too.
True stuff. True enough. Good talk, guys. Good talk. Great conversation. We've started stuff that could be just a whole nother podcast. But I'll just leave it alone so we can go ahead and wrap things up. Terry Wayne, what you got coming up, bro? You got anything you want to plug, promote?
Yeah, I'm going to be I'm doing a show on the 18th, the Blue Jean Comedy Show down in Fort Lauderdale. It'll be all over my Facebook page as soon as the flyers come out. And like I always say, if you got a few bucks, $5 to the Palm Beach County Food Bank. They've been working their ass off since the pandemic started. I got to watch them every Monday out here, so I always feel bad. So throw them some few bucks if you can. And Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms.
Say less. Kellie Lee.
Follow us at The Worst Ones. PK. The Worst Ones PK. Yep. Follow us at The Worst Ones PK.
Yeah.
Where's my little thing at the bottom, Rudy?
I was gonna bring it up at the end. I should have put you last. I'm sorry. I should have let Janessa go first, unless she's about to say the same thing. But Janessa,
no. I was just gonna say, follow my new blog, Melanated Brews, at Melanated Brews on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tickety Talk. Even though I don't have any TikTok videos, so I don't know how to do it. But
that's
it. Right,
and it's stuck.
Right.
All of that. But just come join my journey as I explore all things related to coffee, tea, and beer at Melanated Brews.
Melanated Brews. Say less. And then, like Kellie Lee said, please follow us at The Worst Ones Podcast.
Oh, so when Rudy says it can come up.
Well, Rudy clicks the buttons.
Okay.
I got a little bias on myself. But follow us at The Worst Ones PK. Listen to us every week, every Tuesday. We drop a new episode on Spotify or all places you can find podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Just look up The Worst Ones Podcast. Leave us a like, leave us a comment, leave us a subscribe. You can't leave us a subscribe, but you know what I mean. Subscribe to the channel and rock with us. We'll be back. We'll bring some more guests and we'll keep talking all things PK. Until next time, we out.